I'll be honest with you, this is the second time that I'm recording this video because the first time I didn't properly turn on this little microphone here. So this is another hopefully 15 minutes of recording and talking through the same points, and this might be a little bit shorter than 10 minutes because I don't know how much I want to repeat myself on it. God dang it.
These beautiful things that I've
Look, the conversation has already begun of where we rank in terms of the top teams. Because we got absolutely pounded by FlyQuest this past weekend, people have started the conversation of, oh, well, maybe Lion can break into the top 4 and do this. I think that door is effectively shut, and here's why. When you look at our past 3 matches, excluding the win that we had over DSG, I'll get to that in a bit here. Yes, we got beat by FlyQuest pretty bad. It was a bot lane dive under tier 1, actually past tier 1, between tier 2, that we messed up pretty bad, and then stepping forward again in topside with the Kalista Renata, we had a comp that did not scale as well as FlyQuest did. Sniper got his flash burn early, Quid was missing some abilities and just kind of like off his game. That type of thing happens. And honestly, I'm happy that we at least were aggressive with it and didn't just sit back and do nothing, because I saw that from a few other teams. And I know it sucks to lose, but it's one loss. So then you look at how we did against the other top 2 teams. Team Liquid, we had a lead. We had the ability to potentially close that game out and threw it in the same way that we have done many times over the past year against Team Liquid specifically. But again, we were doing the right things to get leads, and that's the important part. So then you look at C9 and our game against them. Yeah, we beat them pretty handedly. We had a little oopsie. We always have oopsies during these games, including against DSG. We had a moment where it was like, what are you doing a little bit there? But we closed it out. So we finish against the 3, arguably other top 3 teams in this league with a 1-2 record, looking fairly competitive. And ultimately, when we go into best of 5s or later in the season, we're right where we want to be. Yes, Team Liquid and FlyQuest are still going to be the favorites, overwhelmingly, as they should be at this point. They've earned that right. FlyQuest is undefeated. Team Liquid looks pretty good, despite being a little bit shaky against us and looking shaky against some other teams as well. But ultimately, I think that they're going to be fine. C9 is still kind of a wild card, but we are solidly the top 4 teams, and it's not like we're getting blown out by any of them. There's a division between 2 teams within these tiers, but for the most part, we're still all there. So I don't really think there's anything all that much to complain about. And I walk out of this first meaningless best of 1 part of this with a kind of 1/4 progress report card of yeah, we could still do good things if it clicks later in the year. And I'd rather it click at the end than worry about winning best of 1s right now, so long as we show the signs and pathway to improvement, which we currently are doing. Now, before I get to Super Week, I do want to talk about the one interview that came out prior to the time of me recording this, and that was Neyman's interview with Sniper specifically. And he was pressed on viewership and his thoughts on the current state of North America, which kind of echoed a lot of sentiments that I've had on this particular show in the past few weeks, in the past few months, even the last year. And he was a little bit guarded at first, as I think he should be, because his PR wall was up. Somebody's trained him well. He's, not just giving unfiltered comments, which is great. Good for him. He's, improving in the media eye. But they pressed him a little bit further, and I'm glad he finally got honest about the current situation, which is, he said, I'm trying, but this shit sucks to step out in front of a crowd and know that Valorant's bigger, to know that attention is dying and viewership's not there. Meanwhile, he's trying everything that he can. Because if there's one thing that you can definitively say about Sniper over the last year and a half since he's been on this team, is that he has pretty much become the face of it. Yes, Quid is arguably our best player, and there's going to be a lot of people that attach themselves to that side of things just because Quid, people want to support the best player in a particular role. In the Optic Hex words, because he mentioned this on a thing with Rushed, I think I mentioned last week, you either got to be winning or doing content. And the reality is Quid is currently winning in his role. He is the best player in mid lane right now, so that gets him a lot of attention around the league and around fans because they'll just naturally talk about him because he's the best. For Sniper, I wouldn't say he's the best top laner in the league, but he is always putting himself out there in content, in podcasts. Pretty much every 100 Thieves vlog, guess who's the first face on there? Sniper. He's the most willing to talk to the camera because he understands that he has to try and drive a narrative, try and drive something, because if you don't give people a storyline that they genuinely are interested in, they're just not going to watch. And that's the reality of viewership. We have many storylines across this league right now, but nobody really cares to tune into them. For 100 Thieves, like, we are fighting an uphill battle right now of being this team that people like took Malk's words in the offseason and understandably started checking out, or they sold their spot and started checking out because they don't know if they're going to be around long enough, despite some of the players having these really cool narratives behind them. It's not enough for it to be sticky for people. So Sniper's doing his part to try and help grow that. There are many other players on this team that I would love to see do more. I know I keep harping on it, but it's the truth. If you want to protect your paychecks, like, Sniper clearly is showing that emotion. And honestly, like, it's too much to expect Sniper to try and hold like his teammates accountable. He's leading by example, and that's realistically all you can do in that situation. But I wish more LTA pros in general would hold each other accountable for their responsibility in making sure that this league is going to be around. Because the reality is, the orgs, as I've come to learn, can only do so much in terms of marketing these players whenever they don't want to be on camera, they don't enjoy it, they don't tweet out on social media, they just kind of go in, they play their games, and they do their shit. But the reality is, we are an entertainment product, and you have to give people a reason to tune in. And realistically, when you're not the team that's winning, because as of right now, we aren't, that's FlyQuest, that's Team Liquid, you need to be doing something else to make sure that people want to watch your games. Streaming is part of that. Content is part of that. Engaging and building a community is part of that. All that shit takes a ton of time and effort, yes, but that guarantees your paycheck for a longer period of time in this league, so long as it may last. So I'm very proud of Sniper, and I just want that to be very clear, for not only giving this interview and like being honest about the current situation that exists within the league, but more importantly, for being the face of 100 Thieves League of Legends for about a year and a half now. I can only imagine what would happen if he had somebody to bounce off of on camera to that same extent. Like, there are certain like moments where player personality comes through for sure, but like it's not the same as people that like understand what's going on right now. And I don't feel like anybody else fully grasps that. For me personally, I just want to have a series or like a game that is in the top 3 viewed of the weekend, and not just because there's only like 4 series in general once we get to best of 3s. I just want to see us become more popular, and the reality is our matches are not showing up there for a myriad of reasons. Obviously, I'm not blind to that. I know why all this is happening, but I want to try and fight back against it in any way that you can, and it's just hard whenever everything is player or individual creator focused. It's just the truth. So, this past Sunday, we actually had a series, or well, it's not a series, it's a best of 1. It's a meaningless best of 1 against Disguised. And people were like, okay, well, we just got pummeled by FlyQuest. How are we going to do against the worst team in the league? To which the answer was, we treated them like they were the worst team in the league and put them absolutely in the ground. And it kicked off our stretch of what I call vacation games. Even though we have a super week this upcoming week, the reality is, it's Dignitas, it's Shopify, all of whom don't look good in any way, shape, or form. So this should be an easy 2-0 for us on that front. The one team that we do have to worry about at least a little bit is Lion. And I don't say worry in the sense that like, oh, I'm scared that they're going to beat us. I think if we play our game, we are mechanically better, we can out-team fight them, and we will be perfectly fine. But they're going to be one of the few teams from the bottom 4 that actually can hands check us at various different moments, even if our coordination might still end up being better than them at the end of the day. And I don't want to see us lose to them, because the perception is, oh, if anybody was to come up and get into the top 4, it's likely to be Lion, and it's likely 100 Thieves that would drop down. And I hate that perception. I hate it. I get why it exists, because we definitely are a more volatile team than most. But since this roster is formed, like, we've given no substantial reason for people to doubt us against anybody other than the top 2 teams in the league. And hopefully this weekend can finally put that narrative to bed once and for all. But we'll see. We will see, that's for sure. I can't say that like I'm going to be tuning in like all that much this weekend. I mean Monday I definitely still will, and then before that, Wow, that is a familiar name that's texting me for the first time in a long time. God damn. You know who you are if you're texting me. Just know I'm recording this on Tuesday. It's 7 o'clock. So you know exactly who you are if you texted me and you're watching this. But yeah, this should be an easy 3-0 week. And then next week, I think, begins the fun of like actually talking about games that matter. A best of 3 and Fearless to see how our champ pool does, see how we hold up under pressure. Yes, we can get eliminated technically. I don't think it's still a risk in this group stage at all, but we can start worrying about, okay, where do we finish in order to make sure that we get upper bracket, which top 4 shouldn't be a problem. But then you're also worrying about jockeying for seeding to see who's facing FlyQuest, because I think realistically our hardest matchup in playoffs is going to be FlyQuest. We have historically, barring the best of 3 that we saw back in spring, where, yeah, it definitely seems more nowadays like FlyQuest had a bit of an off day, but we'll see if we get the chance to rematch them and who could be in our group as well. There could be some weird last week shenanigans of these best of 1s that really mess with the groups, but once again, I kind of doubt it. So yeah, I don't think this video went on that long. I'll be honest with you, there's really not all that much to talk about. I'm stretching this out kind of as much as I can to a certain extent and talking about the things that I want to without being too redundant. But that's about it. Around the org, not much else has happened. Coachella's going on. A bunch of the creators went to Coachella. Keep Jack specifically in your thoughts and your prayers if you can. They lost a family member unexpectedly, and I know he's been grieving with that. And beyond that, I think that's about it. We're just at kind of like this quiet point before things like really pick up as we get into playoffs, and I'm assuming as the org announces more upcoming. So that's pretty much the holding pattern that we're in. Beyond that, yeah, I got nothing. So get me to matches that matter, please. And I'll see you next week. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.